Hi, everyone. Welcome back to another Matt Talk. And this week I'm joined by someone who's followed a similar path to me, coming out of hotels and then starting to work with hostels and probably having quite some interesting experiences going from hotels into hostels. Diogo has just left Clink Hostels, where he's been for 4 years, and he started his own business. And I thought it would be the right time to invite him in to share some of his experiences throughout the many, many years in hospitality. Diogo, do you want to just give a short introduction to what you have done in your past?
Thanks, Matt. Thanks for having me. Well, it's difficult to put in a better words what you just said about me, but basically that's it. I've been working hospitality for 15 years, a lot in different international brands like Hilton, Accor, Marriott, mainly on the commercial field, more specifically revenue management. And that's it. I'm passionate about commercial performance. I'm passionate about technology. And I was always very curious about the hybrid space, about hostels as well. So I decided 4 years ago to join Clink, and it was a very good decision. And I got really passionate and really deep into this small industry of hostels, but with a lot of potential to grow.
Because you must have seen quite some systems as you went. I think I saw Hilton, I saw Marriott, I saw like
Yeah.
Accor in your profile. You must have gone through quite some system changes throughout that career.
Yeah, a lot. Like, I don't know, maybe five, six different PMSs, four different RMSs, a lot of different channel managers. And that's the thing, there are good things and bad things about hostels versus hotels, tech slack. But I think at the end of the day, the main priorities should be the same when it comes to choosing your tech. Doesn't matter if you are a five-star hotel or if you are a backpacker hostel. But at the end of the day, it's true that especially if you work for an international brand, you do have more support, you do have more investment when it comes to technology, and sometimes it's easier to move forward.
Yeah.
But I think a company like Muse is helping a lot to leverage the game and makes technology a bit more accessible. So I think in a way, I don't want to put this in a bad way. I think somehow we're becoming a bit of Ryanair. The same way Ryanair made travel more accessible, I think it made technology more accessible to everyone. And that's great because looking, for example, I can talk about Clink, but also I know that there are some luxury properties, some boutique hotels that use Muse, and we are in the same game. You know, the level of integration you can both deliver are exactly the same. Not talking about the product, but at least I think Muse has helped to leverage the game on the technology side.
So do you remember your first day at Clink? Because if you've come out of hotels and you go into hostels, there's quite a different operation. But can you talk to us what you notice as the biggest differences between a hostel and a hotel?
Well, there are many. To be honest, it's a funny story, and I don't mind sharing this one because I already told this to Anne, our founder, a few times. It was up like me joining Clink was a bit of an accident when I applied for the position. LinkedIn, me coming from a luxury hotel background, really curious about hostels, but I say, well, let's apply just for the sake of applying to get practice with the interviews, to see how to get the ball rolling. And then I fell in love with the project, with the family. My first approach was by the predecessor with Louise Gardner, the previous commercial director of Clink, that is now with Cabanas. And she helped me fall in love with the brand. And I really took it was a nice project. I was very curious about the hybrid space, about hostels. So I decided to join the company. And it was an amazing decision. And how was the first day? Well, dress code, as you can see, not shaving, t-shirt, this fits with Clink. This wouldn't be the case if I showed up to work at
Yeah.
Hilton or Marriott, wouldn't be exactly the same. I was just told dress code was like, don't use a tie. It was pretty much come as you are. And when it comes to the entire vibe, I think not only internal the company, but also with the competitors is different. So when you are in hotels and you go to a conference, for example, Hilton versus Marriott, I'm not saying this on a negative way, but I think everyone is hiding their game, everyone trying to show off a bit. And hostels is pretty much different. Of course, there's still some competition. There's still some, of course, trying to beat the others. But I think people are way more open about the performance, about the strengths, about the weakness, open to share the strengths, open also to share and discuss the weakness. I think that's really relevant. And then when it comes to Kling itself, of course, was a bit of a shock coming from a big company like Hilton, where I had so many reports, so many dashboards, even more than actually I needed. And coming to place, yes, the reporting was in place, but I think, of course, as any other hostel brand comparing with Hilton, a lot of things were missing. And I know that some people might think, well, doing revenue management or commercial performance for hostels is actually quite easier, quite straightforward. You are selling beds. Is actually way more complex than hotels, because at the end of the day, in hotels, what makes a difference on the product is the view, if it's the space of the room, and the amenities. When it comes to a hostel itself, Some people might prefer large, some people might prefer small, some people might prefer shared facilities, some others with en-suite, female versus mixed dorm. So the level of variables is way bigger. And of course, instead of analyzing the metrics per room, you analyze it per bed, per square meter. Should I convert this into a dorm? Should I convert this in private room? Should be a female, should be a mix, what should be a co-working space. I think when you go to the hybrid world, there are way more metrics that we analyze. And that's it. So my first day was, wow, so much data, so much that I could use in terms of dashboards and reports. And actually, there is a lot more technology than I need to implement in Clink. And that's what my focus was on the first few years, to implement a few tech that were very useful until today.
Nice. And so you mentioned metrics there. So in a hotel, we talk about RevPAR and ADR. And it sounds like you have something probably like RevPUB, which is revenue per available bed. Is that the metric that you like obsessed about?
No, we're not obsessed about, but instead, basically, we use RevPUB, ABR, average bed rate, instead of ADR, average daily rate. But most important than that is, if you really want to make it, of course, you can always talk about TRevPUB, so basically total revenue per available bed, net TRevPUB, so basically discounting the distribution costs and all that. So we can go as granular as you want, but I think two things that are super important in hostel. One is a square meter. In hotel, at the end of the day, you can think, okay, my price per suite is more expensive, but at the end of the day, there's also more square meters. Maybe the price per square meter is more or less the same.
Yeah.
In hostels, since we are way more flexible about making it either a private dorm or private room, or even about the dorm, should you put making it a 4 or 6 but nice private dorm with some space around the beds, or should you make it put just 8 or 10 beds inside, where the cost of the bed, of course, will be lower, but the experience also is not going to be the same. So those type of metrics are very important. So one is about the square meters, about optimization of the space, and I think we are way more flexible. We can convert it into a meeting room. You can convert it into co-work. We can make it a private room. We can make it a private dorm. So I think there were way more metrics. So I think the revenue per square meter in hostels is more relevant. And second is F&B. Yeah, so basically the F&B and everything that is ancillary, of course, takes a different weight at hostels than hotels. Because if you are staying in a 200 euros hotel room and pay 20 euros for the breakfast, that's 10%. And of course, if you are paying 200 euros for hotel room, you don't need to buy towels, padlocks, those type of things.
Yeah.
Whereas, of course, if you're staying in a hostel bed, paying 40, 50 euros, and that's quite a good hostel, like the one of Clink Hostels. But if you pay 10 euros for your breakfast, that's 20 to 25%. If you pay 7, 8 euros or 6 euros for a pint of beer, that's already 12, 13% of your bed rate. So everything that is extra ancillary revenue takes a much more important weighting factor in hostels and hotels. And that's the irony, or that's the improvement point that hostels can have, because unfortunately, we have way less ways of track than hotels. Because as you know, in hotels, you go to the restaurant, you go to breakfast, even if you haven't paid it yet, you add it to the room bill, you sign it, you put it in a room, and then it is all integrated. So we know exactly if you're staying in room 205, that you had a beer, that you had a breakfast, that you had a dinner, that you had this of a room service, you had this of a mini bar, and you know exactly your data. Not only it will have an impact on the average spend that Matt has with us, but then, of course, if you have a CRM full loyalty program, you know exactly what are your eating and drinking habits when you're staying on a hotel. And the hostel is different, because when a guest comes to the bar, we don't have such a thing as room billing. Sometimes we don't even have the systems, the POS talking with the PMS. What's not the case. In our case, they talk, but you just don't have the room billing option. Yeah, so basically that's the irony of the thing. Is in one hand, we are way more dependent on data. Or data could be way more useful, F&B data, ancillary data, but we don't have those weapons available to us. And I know there are a lot of things that Muse are working on.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, there's so much that Muse can do, because of course, room billing is a thing that doesn't exist. So even if on the technology side, you guys are ready, and you could have had that ready from your side, it's just not. It's not.
So what we've done is we connect the credit card token back to the profile of the guest now. So if we've got the credit card on the guest profile, and you have the Muse point of sale with the Muse terminal, then we recognize the token, and then we can connect it and link it to the profile.
Yeah, it is a part, but of course, it's still very limited, because, for example, a lot of online payments of, for example, Booking.com and other OTAs are done on a virtual credit cards.
Yeah.
So of course, they don't match
everything.
And if you are, for example, in a dorm with some friends, you might have paid for the room, but then your other friend actually pays for the beer to kind of compensate.
Yeah.
But yes, it's better than nothing. And of course, I think Muse is the only PMS that helps doing that integration with F&B at hostel level. But with the limitations we have, is something that is a bit difficult.
Yeah.
Of course, there are things we can do, correlation formulas, trying to understand, okay, if you have more guests of this certain segment or this certain nationality, on average, you have more F&B, you have more drinks, so we can have, for example, Power BI and doing some more metrics, but it's not as exact as a hotel PMS, for example.
Yeah. And you mentioned when you entered Clink that you missed a few systems. Like, what were some of the applications that you added to the infrastructure of apps at Clink that you were really keen to add into the infrastructure?
So when I started the website, so I know you're not talking about technology, but of course, website was not where it is now. Was old and needed really an improvement. When comes also to the entire group experience, we're just too dependent on Muse booking engine, and we thought that of course we need something else. We decided to install BackQ. Back then was called GroupCore, now it's called BackQ. We didn't have an upselling system, so we decided to push for Oki.
Right.
At the moment, because now we are driving more with Muse kiosks, I think we are trying to revert from Oki to Muse, because now using the Muse kiosks, of course, on site, and trying to, not, I wouldn't say the word force, but incentivize guests to online check-in and to self-check-in when they arrive. Muse gives us way more opportunities now with upselling. So of course we're trying to focus on that as well. Then when it comes to CRM, we didn't have a proper B2C or B2B CRM. We decided to go for Book Boost, and also together with Book Boost, because we should not only look at the CRM as a loyalty tool, but also as a communications hub. And then we also have a strong partnership with a company called D3X that also has integration with Muse for the chatbot, but a lot of AI running behind the scenes. And I'm sure we're going to talk about AI later on, because a very hot topic. And that integration for us was very important. So to have our chatbot, but a lot of AI running behind our CRM that is using as a communication hub, and trying to centralize all communications, either by email, by WhatsApp, by social media, and try to integrate all and use AI as much as possible. But I think these were the main changes we did. And also when it comes to RMS, we were already using an RMS base back in the days. Now it's called Flyer. But we also thought that maybe for the big box hostels, that Duetto would make more sense. And now we have both Flyer and Duetto. Duetto for the big boxes, so Clink Nord and Clink Hilar, and the Flyer previous space for the small ones.
Nice. And you brought up AI, and I let's just go straight into it, because I'm always very keen to hear what hotels are doing. What's the most impactful application of AI that you rolled out?
D3X, without any, because from a guest's perspective, of course, from the guest interface, is about the chatbot. And we did a big decision that was around 1 year ago. We took a decision to automatize all our customer support. There was like 1 year of testing, first with iGPhy, then with D3X, with a lot of different metrics. And what we wanted to analyze was the speed, right? And that's very important for guests, especially today. Guests are not patients, right?
Yeah.
We went from writing letters to write emails to WhatsApp, now to voice AI. Everyone's want to answer now. ChatGPT now, like if I write a WhatsApp and I waited for 20 seconds is too much, right? So speed was very important. The satisfaction of the client, our guests, was very, very important. And trying to be available 24/7, what wasn't, of course, the case and all those metrics, what we saw is we start first with hybrid system, a bit more hybrid approach, and a bit of kind of using AI to help the team to reply with kind of autocorrect and suggestions, until we went to 100% AI. And what we saw consistently was that the AI was delivering satisfaction results like for like. What was making the difference is because the speed was so much faster. It went from an average 2 minutes. It's not that bad, 2 minutes average reply. Of course, during business hours, an average of 2 minutes to 3 seconds. And that, of course, has a big impact on satisfaction, because the guests were super happy. That was super fast. And after testing, after we decided to let it go, and now we have D3X together with Book Boost, and now our CRM and our chatbot working together and giving that AI experience to our guests.
So what's
But
the
it's
separation of duties between Book Boost and D3X? Like, what are the specific functions that those two platforms do?
No, they work together, but they are different systems. So Book Boost is a CRM, and D3X is basically AI warehouse that can work in different components of AI. And at the moment, if you go to our website, the chatbot is managed by D3X.
Yeah.
However, the messages that the guests write to us via the chatbot, they will fall under our CRM. So then in our CRM, we will collect emails, but also messages that the guest uses via the chatbot. And both the emails that fall into our CRM and also those messages that will fall via the chatbot, they both are being worked with the AI that D3X has integrated together with
Nice.
Boost. And both companies are growing very fast, and of course, both working also with Muse. So those names shouldn't be new to you. And both Dylan from Book Boost and Jason Nuroni from D3X are big fans of yourself and your company. But basically, I would say that it's because of us and because of my colleague Mikael that both companies actually started working together, D3X and Book Boost. So we're super proud that we were the cupid of that love couple, and that both they are finding a lot of ways to work together and really make a difference in the industry.
And are you
And
doing anything with voice? So can someone call Clink and take a reservation by phone with AI not right now?
yes, we are actually doing it in two different ways. Right now, as we speak, moving forward with the voice AI of D3X, so that we've been working together with Jason. So, but that's everything regarding reservations, FAQs, customer support. But then on the B2B side, not sure if I should be talking this because it's still not really a secret, but something we've been working behind the scenes is a partnership with another company called Ivor. That is also should be a name that you know. And basically for everything that is B2B, from like leads qualification,
Yeah.
lead follow up, lead rejection, follow up call, make a full group booking only using AI. That's something that we just actually earlier this morning there was a call to decide the different flows of the conversations, but that's something we really focus because when someone calls Clink and there's a question about the FAQs or can I make a booking is a totally different conversation that a group booking. And the entire process, the approach of a client being more proactive, being more insistive. So that's why we chose to have two different companies because they are specialized in different things. But for sure, Phone AI is the future. And I think this is coming to what I said before because people are getting less patient. And I honestly think that very soon, the same way we use Alexa, and all the different AIs. I do think that very soon when you go to a hotel or hostel room that you're gonna have some kind of avatar and just ask, hey, book me a spa, book me a hotel, book me a restaurant, all those type of things. I think voice will be way more important.
Yeah.
So having less contact points and more vocal interaction. I think we are getting used to that with the open AI, but also Microsoft Copilot, Gemini, all those different strains of companies are pushing us for use voice. And for sure, voice is the future without any doubt.
So, like, if you think about a hostel, often it means there is a younger audience that stay in hostel. So they're probably more tech savvy than what you find in a hotel, or that's the assumption at least.
Yep.
What do you think hotels could learn from what hostels are doing from a distribution point of view?
That's the thing, right? Our audience are the young ones, so they are way more tech savvy than normally the hotels, but they're also more demanding, right? Because, for example, if a guest from a hotel is the first time you're talking with a chatbot, wow, it's amazing. But for a younger crowd that are used to that, they can tell the difference between different chatbots and different experience they had with chatbots. So yes, they are more tech savvy, but yes, they're also more demanding and more used to it. So yeah, you don't surprise me with that. Just do me what I want to do. And also I think less impatient. So I think what hotels could learn from hostels is that we have the guests of tomorrow. So the guests that are today in hostels because they are backpacking, they don't really have a big budget or they're traveling under their parents' money, they will go to hostels because it's cheap, it's cool. But those guests will be going to hotels in a few years. And that's the reason, for example, I think hybrid hotels are so popular because by the time hostels started to be popular and we were traveling with our 20s, now we are 30s, we are 40s, but you still want to be attached to those type of vibes. So I think hotels could learn to be flexible like hostels. A lot of brands, they still try to focus on having their own tools, their own PMSs, their own CRMs. And sometimes they are just outdated. I don't want to name examples, and not to close doors for the future. But when you look, that's why we have seen some brands actually signing with Muse when it comes to replacing their PMSs by Muse, because that's what makes sense. Because yes, having your own tools is relevant for a question of data, for a question of customization. You have more control. Yeah, I get it, but you are not the best in class. So I think you should make sure that should be flexible, like hostels are, and give your technology to big companies. There are exceptions. Most of the big hostels don't have their own PMSs there. I know three or maybe two or three exceptions in Europe, but most of the big hotels out there either use Muse or Cloudbeds. And in Europe, of course, you guys have a big advance. And that's the thing. Make sure that you give to the best in class your technology. Make sure that you are flexible. Make sure you choose partners that integrate with many other partners. So API open is super, super important. Being lightweight, don't have a tech that is difficult to understand, difficult to change, difficult to modify. And when I look at how easy is, for example, to implement Muse, because I did a few opening and a reopening with Muse, compared to how it was back in the days when you need to do opening or reopening with Opera or Protel or those other PMSs, is just not comparable. So learn to be flexible like hostels. And I think hostels could learn with hotels on how to be more consistent when it comes to data and reporting. Yes, we have cool tools, but we should be a bit more consistent using those tools. And sometimes what happens is the hotels, they have those brand standards, so the PMS are configured exactly the same way. And sometimes even if you have Muse in 10 different hostels of the same chain, sometimes you see different configurations because it's just different people doing
Yeah.
it. So I think they could be more flexible like us, and we could be a bit more consistent and rigorous like they are.
And if you think about distribution back in the day, like, in the olden days of hostels, you just rock up at a sit station and then you'd figure out where's the nearest hostel. Or if you were in the Lonely Planet, that was your distribution strategy. Do you still get a lot of direct bookings coming to you directly to the website or booking directly? Or is most of it shifted to OTAs as we see in hotels today?
Yeah, it's still like hotels, so big shift, still big share of OTAs. Like we have only around 20% of our bookings are direct. On the transient, of course, groups is a bit different. But when it comes to individual bookings, only around 20% are direct. We don't have the same weapons in hotels. So in terms of brand recognition, in terms of loyalty program, in terms of we don't really have many or almost inexistent corporate accounts. And even groups, we do have groups, but of course, not all sorts of groups want to stay in hostels. So we are a bit more limited on distribution. So a bit more, we are still, especially Clink groups is something very big for us, but it's not the reality of most of hostels right there. And
Yeah.
when it comes to individual bookings, I would say that the average will be around 20% direct and 80% OTAs. This has been changing. I think word of mouth has been always very important to hostels, even more than hotels, because especially those cool hostels in remote locations, like you go there, you try, you come and tell your friends, especially those ones, I think they are very dependent on word of mouth. I think what made the difference is the moment hostels started to install CRMs, like for example, Book Boost, but of course there are different examples. They start to use a bit of the weapons that hotels do, marketing, campaigns, promotions, etc. Try to have some more loyal base. But I still think at the end of the day, the type of crowd that goes to hostels and the way we look at that data is way more transactional than really a full loyalty life cycle than we actually look at hotels.
Because what's a traveler, how would they discover a hostel or Clink? Do they go mostly through modern channels like TikTok? And do you have a strategy for like those types of channels? Or do you just rely on OTAs to drive most of the traffic?
Now, of course, we focus first direct, and UGC, user generated content, that is huge all over the world hospitality. If we check on studies that show the percentage of travelers that choose their next stay via the social media channels, very relevant, especially TikTok, especially for the young generation. So the ones exactly
I
we're
love
trying to
TikTok too,
target.
and I'm not the young generation.
No, you're still young, I bet. No, but I actually, to be honest, I use more LinkedIn than TikTok. What says a lot about me, no? I mean, I'm getting older now, but jokes aside, TikTok is and Instagram, they are super relevant for any sort of travelers. We now see that on average, a traveler before makes a booking, checks 4 or 5 different sources of information, not only about pricing, because now pricing is no longer a taboo. You can go to meta search, you can go to the OTAs and see all different pricings, but more about reviews. So reputation management is super important, but also about what your friends are doing in terms of content, and you follow the trends. And for that, social media has opened a lot of opportunities. And I think also once again, leveraging the game. And in hotels, but also in hostels, have a lot of examples of independent boutique hotels that don't have a big loyalty program. They're not part of a brand, but they are doing so well in social media, are super famous, that they have an amazing performance because of that. So I think will be even more important in the future. And also the way the Google algorithm and some other OTAs algorithm are working are a lot less based in text, but way more based in image, more based in content. So I think the entire social media experience and the way to visualize those experiences online will have a higher impact in the future. So for sure, that should be a very big focus of yours, to make sure that you have more direct bookings, and make sure that when your guests are enjoying a nice time, make sure that they took videos and share their videos, share their experiences, because that attracts other guests to do the same.
How do you do that? How do you entice people to share their content or to create content actually at the hostel so that it gets shared?
Yeah, the issue we have is, of course, we have a central marketing team, but then we also have to have kind of an ambassador at each location to send some videos, you know. But at the end of the day, it's always difficult because sometimes they don't have the right phone, they don't have the right experience, they don't do the right angle, they don't do the right color. And also, we have dozens of videos of our guests that they share with us. But again, sometimes they are not, in terms of color, in terms of style, not the right vibe, but we should focus. And again, there is AI tools that help you to redesign those videos and to recreate those videos, those designs. And I think that we should just make sure that we should incentivize our guests to share and to tag us, like tag us, get a free beer, those type of campaigns.
Yeah.
They do work because they give us like a free UGC.
Nice. So if you were to have your own hostel and you'd had to build a tech stack from the ground up, like what are the biggest, most important components in order of like, where do you start? And then what are some of the exciting bits that you get to add up that really make a differentiated tech stack from someone else in the market?
A lot of people, when they are asked that question, I think they take the wrong approach, because a lot of times when hotels are open, what they do is they have meetings with 10 different suppliers. Oh, that looks cool, I will install that. That looks cool, I will install it.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, they end up installing systems that don't talk to each other. And they can be super cool, but if you don't talk with each other, it generates more work. And at the end of the day, they aren't really working together. Knowing that we are in a hotel business, the main tool, of course, is a PMS. So that should be our main tool. And to select your PMS should be something lightweight, easy to navigate, easy to explain, because we know that turnover, unfortunately, is high in hospitality. So it should be a system that is easy to understand, easily to train your staff on. And that's the core of your business. So you make sure that the PMS lightweight, flexible, with a lot of open API capabilities. And really open API, not open just temporarily until we get our own thing and then we close it again, like some other of your competitors. But basically, the idea is to open, lightweight, flexible, and then make sure that it talks to other systems. And once that part is done, okay, now the PMS is done. Which integrations can I go to Muse Marketplace and see what these guys have? And for sure, we have so many different integrations that I'm going to find what I need. So I think, okay, CRM, which ones are there in the market that work with Muse? Boom, Book Boost, okay, for example. Perfect. RMS, which ones have integration? You have a few ones, and now you even have Atomize. That is even a easier way to approach. So that's the thing. Start with your PMS and work your system like around your PMS, making sure that you have integrations that talk very well. So the Muse preferred partners, I would say, and work from there. But don't choose systems because individually they look cool, or because you know the supplier, because you got a nice deal. Make sure you got a system that talks, that is a coherent ecosystem, let's say, and everything is talking to each other.
Nice. And then last question, if you look forward, what's something that you think our industry should finally solve with technology?
It would be easy if we could integrate all data in one screen, so one dashboard full of KPIs. And then now we can do Power BI. We have other companies like Profit Intelligence and Juyo Analytics that help you with those type of data visualization. But I think we're still not there, and you're still dependent on going to Lighthouse, Excel, BI, a lot of 4 or 5
Too
different.
many Excel sheets.
Exactly. That a lot of different sources of data, and at the end of the day, if there isn't really the same data displaying, we end up discussing the data accuracy. Oh, yes, that shows that, but that's not right. Isn't what we want. I think data collection, data treatment, and then data management, and of course, data suggestion, what to do with that data. I think we're not there yet. We have been doing great stuff, but I think the fact that so many hotels choose wrongly their partners, it makes like a more complicated tech system to work. So simplify your systems, make sure that you have one data, easy visualization of your data, of all the different KPIs in one screen, and then treat that data. And now you can treat that data with your own knowledge. You can use AI to help you navigate that data. And we have a lot of examples, companies like Everguest that use, for example, data to help you navigate your reviews and those type of things. Use AI to help you treat that data and make the right decisions. But if you have to look for 5 different sources of data, different people looking at different sources, and start working in silos, that's not the right way to do. So I think
agree.
that's the main thing that we should focus on the upcoming years when it comes to technology and hospitality.
I totally agree. Like there has to be a single source of truth where all your data is hosted. And this is a thing that I'm not allowed to talk about, but like it's definitely something we are actively working to solve with Music in the future, because I 100% agree that we have all these silos and it makes decisioning really hard, or bad decisions get made because of the lack of insights. And we are definitely on the path to solving that going forward.
Yeah, because a lot of data discussions are, sorry to cut you, but a lot of data discussions end up or start with yes, but.
Yeah.
You should take out the yes, but.
The but is the problem, yeah. Diogo, you just started your consultancy business. How can people reach out if they're looking to get consulting on their business?
Well, the easiest way will be to reach me out via LinkedIn. So Diogo Vaz Ferreira, that will be the easiest one. I haven't really been actively looking because I was very busy on a good way with Clink project, but looking forward to help other hostels and hotels, but mainly hostels because that's my main passion.
Nice.
Moving forward, if people are looking for a different support in terms of commercial performance, in terms of digital transformation, I'm your guy.
Nice. Thank you very much for joining today.
Thank you so much, Matt. Thank you for this opportunity.